Let's talk sleepers, breakouts, and busts at the first base position. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Tuesday, February 4th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers, and we are here to preview the first base position. We'll do sleepers, breakouts, and busts. And Chris, you are up first, a sleeper at first base.
There are actually a decent number of later-ish first basemen that I like this year, but I will go with Davis de los Santos, who is a first base prospect for the Marlins, probably one of the Marlins' top 3 prospects, and he had a pretty bonkers 2024. He played all season as a 21-year-old at AA and AAA, got traded from the Diamondbacks, hit 40 home runs over the course of his age 21 season in 137 games. Those are numbers you do not see very often at the minor league level. So that was really impressive. Again, only 21 when he did this. So there are some concerns about the hit tool. He struck out about 25% of the time. You would think that goes up at the major league level, but I don't know. You look at it and you could see a Jake Burger outcome here where he's a pretty bad defender, maybe not a great real-life player, probably doesn't walk too much. The OBP's low, but if he hits 250, he might hit 25, might hit 30 homers. The only problem is this is when we have to watch in spring training, because I would guess the Marlins have a lot of similar-ish type players, like Matt Mervis, who got a lot of hype in fantasy circles a couple years ago. He's 26. Kyle Stowers was once a prospect. He's 27. So I'm guessing that the Marlins are going to go through those, get Griffin Conine, and, they got a lot of one-dimensional mashers who are probably going to get a chance before Davis and De Los Santos does. But I expect all of those guys to more or less fail. I expect Davis and De Los Santos to be up certainly in the first half of the season, hopefully by May. And he might be the highest upside hitter on the Marlins roster in 2025. So I think there's some reasons to be excited here.
And he is a deep sleeper. De Los Santos, an ADP of 360 on Fantasy Pros. Sleeper for me is going to be Ryan Mountcastle, who regularly hits the ball hard year in and year out, but his power has suffered because of the dimensions in Camden Yards. A couple of years back, they pushed the left field walls back to help their pitchers and, mitigate some of the home runs being hit there. Well, now they're putting the left field walls back in a little bit. And I think that is going to help someone like Ryan Mountcastle, who, according to StatCast, has lost 10 home runs over the past 3 years. It kind of feels like it should be more than that. So if everything works out, I think a late round fallback option, if you just miss out on everybody else at first base, Mountcastle, someone that can hit, 25 to 30 home runs in the middle of a really good Orioles lineup this upcoming season. Chris, what about a breakout at first base?
I just want to point out 10 home runs. It sounds like it should be more over the course of 3 seasons. That is about 18% of his total home runs over the past 3 seasons. And that's only in half of his games. So it's a pretty big impact. As for my breakout, I'm going with Michael Toglia, the Colorado Rockies first baseman who had 25 homers and 10 steals last season. So he doesn't really have to change too much about his game. And that was only in 116 games. The problem is he hit 218, which drags the whole profile down. But his expected batting average was 244 per StatCast. There have been 67 qualifiers on the Colorado Rockies in the StatCast era, so 2015 to 2024. Of those 66, only 10 of them underperformed their XBA. And on average, they outperformed by 19 points, which is all to say that you should probably have expected Michael Toglia to hit something like 245 last year. And really, you can make the case that because of Coors Field and the inflationary effect that has on batting average, a 260 batting average is well within a reasonable range of outcomes for Michael Toglia. It might be something like what you should expect. And that comes from a guy who had a 92.1 mile per hour average exit velocity last year. 51st percentile sprint speed. Okay, that's not great, but he did steal 10 bases on 11 attempts. You start to put everything together, and this could be a really, really impactful profile. 25 homers, 30 homers, 10 to 15 steals, a 260 average. That's not outside of the realm of possibility. And that definitely would make Michael Toglia a top 10 first baseman. Might make him like a top 6 guy. I've moved him inside of my top 150 in my rankings because I want him as my corner infielder in as many leagues as possible.
Again, that was Michael Toglia, the ADP 190.6. Let's take a quick break, and I'll give you my breakout pick right after this.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more. It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal! On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Welcome back in, FBT Express, previewing the first base position. The breakout for me, also going to be a deep league name, Tyler Soderstrom of the Athletics, who is a former top prospect, got called up last year, held his own, hit 233, but 9 home runs, 743 OPS. The plate discipline actually looked solid, and he did crush in the minors last season, a 991 OPS in 33 games at AAA for Tyler Soderstrom. The quality of contact was great. 91.9 average exit velocity, a 14.6% barrel rate. I mean, those numbers are, among the best. Yeah, those are slugger type numbers. It's just, will he be consistent enough? Will he get the opportunity to play? And I think the answer to both of those questions is yes. Also a slight ballpark upgrade going from Oakland to Sacramento. And I could see a scenario where Soderstrom comes out and hits 25 plus home runs this upcoming season. Chris, what about a bust at first base?
I don't have a strong, hot take about who's going to bust at the first base position. Although I will say 4 of the top 5 at the position are over the age of 30. So I'll pick one of those guys, and I'll go with Pete Alonso, whose frigid free agent market, I think, does tell us something about the way MLB teams view him and how they think he's going to age. But I think even just looking at the 2025 season, you've seen some declines in the quality of contact. The batting average has been really poor 2 years in a row. He's an all-field slugger who doesn't hit the ball super hard. It's 89 mile per hour average exit velocities and above average barrel rates, but not huge stuff. And so it doesn't suggest to me a guy who's a great bet to keep hitting 40 homers. And look, we already saw some regression there last year, only hit 34. Like I said, I don't have a strong position on this. And if Pete Alonso falls around from his ADP, I'm okay drafting him. But I do have him ranked about a round lower than his ADP. I think he's kind of in a tier of his own at the position where he's, about 15 picks behind Matt Olson. So I'm okay planting my flag on Pete Alonso as someone that I'm probably not going to draft this year.
Yeah, the ADP on Pete Alonso is 41.2, remains a free agent, so we'll see where he winds up this upcoming season. A bust pick for me, I don't think he's going to bottom out by any means, but I just think could be overvalued here, and that is Josh Naylor. The ADP is 76.4. He was traded over to the D-backs this offseason. He's entering a contract year. The D-backs just led all of baseball in runs, so in terms of
he's an RBI machine.
The counting stats should be fine, but I also think that you're buying at the peak for Josh Naylor, who had 31 home runs last year, finally managed to stay healthy. He's dealt with a lot of injuries in the past. He did take a huge step back in the second half in terms of his quality of contact. And if you look at the home road numbers last season, Progressive Field played up awesome for power. And Josh Naylor had an 852 OPS in Cleveland last year. On the road, 699 OPS, goes over to a ballpark, which is tougher to hit for left-handed power. So I think it'll still be okay. I just don't like paying a top 80, top 90 pick here for Josh Naylor this upcoming season. We are going to wrap there. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.